All right, ladies and gents, we are going to go ahead and get ready to rock and roll. Welcome to our Wednesday TLA Prep, our 18th session here this year. And as we kick off into our Wednesday TLAs, these are turning more and more to our TLA lessons and business boot camps that we have set up here to really equip our branch and district managers and sharpen your sword, sharpen your skill sets as we go into the spring. And for our new representatives that are not officially in TLA, this is a chance for you to get a little bit of a taste of managerial training, of best version of yourself training, of leadership training to set you up for success in whatever role you're going to have next summer as a representative, as an assistant manager, as an FSM or CSP, or as a branch and district manager for the summer of 2021. So we'll kick off and dive right into here for things for the day, ladies and gents. And I want to welcome you all to the Leadership Academy. All year long, we've been talking about really how to become the best version of yourself. And that really falls into the areas of time management, money management, energy management, people management, and self-management. And I'll just tell you guys, before we even get started today, coming off of actually, I'm still in the middle of the DVM meeting. So we had days 1 and 2 today with Vector East. And so all the division managers across the eastern side of the region, which includes Eastern region, which is our region, the Northeast region, the Midwest region, and our Canada team have been meeting both today, yesterday, and then we have a final DVM meeting here tomorrow as we gear up for the summer of 2021. And I have a lot of personal light bulbs I'm excited to be able to bring to the division, but it's really, really exciting, the opportunity that we have going into next year. If you were here last summer, you remember that last summer was one of the biggest summers that we've ever had in company history. Last summer was a year that the Eastern region increased by 43% in sales for the summer of 2021. That's a really big jump, by the way. It's one thing when an office does that, because it's possible maybe the office had a rough year, but when you're talking about the entire organization as a whole, our Eastern region went from a $30 million region to a $40 million region last year, which is a massive growth move. And if you guys remember, we did that during the pandemic year. We did that while still kind of figuring things out as we went. We did that with, everything that we've done for 40 years, throw all of that away, and we're gonna do something completely different and new and figure it out as we go. And we had one of the most epic summer performances, of any year in company history. There is a bigger opportunity this summer. There's a bigger opportunity for every single person that's on this call. There's a bigger opportunity no matter what role you are playing in this organization next summer. And that comes with a growing division, but it also comes with elegance and simplicity. It also comes with the fact that we have proven programs and systems and formulas. We're not going to be figuring out stuff this summer. We're not going to be testing how do we do this virtual climate. We're not going to be, the wind is at our backs this summer, because guess what? The recruiting environment that really helped fuel us, the fact that it was kind of hard to find a job, the fact that the economy was not doing so hot, the fact that there was a lot of things that helped fuel our recruiting surge in performance, despite not really knowing what we were honestly doing in the moment. But now we do know what we're doing. Now we do have programs. Now we do have formulas. Now we have, again, a bigger, more well-trained, more highly developed team. And the wind is in our backs to really create what is going to be a truly epic summer of 2021 performance. But all this stuff, I always say your level of and this is a quote that I've spoken many times, but as that your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something that you attract by the person that you become. And the reality is, whether you're a representative or an AM or a BM or a DM, your success this summer will be a direct reflection of the person that you are. It's going to be a direct reflection of your strengths as a leader and your weaknesses as a leader. Your performance as a sales rep and how much money you make will be a direct reflection upon your strengths as a sales rep and your weaknesses as a sales rep, your ability to execute. And it's ultimately going to be a reflection of how have you actually developed yourself in these things. What I love about our business and what I love about the Leadership Academy is that you can learn these skills anywhere. You really can. You don't have to learn from TLA. You can go read some books. I can recommend some podcasts. You can go on YouTube. You can go pay for some other growth seminars. You might even be able to learn some of these things at your college or university. But the difference is there's an avenue and a place for you to get experience in these areas, not just learn about time management, but actually have a crazy schedule that requires you to have good time management skills, not just learn about energy management, but actually have to have and use that to your advantage. Not just learn about how to be, what to do when you make a lot of money, but actually an opportunity to go make a lot of money and then do something with it and invest and learn. That's the practical experience. And we're gearing up, as we always have been, for the summer of 2021. So I'm excited. If you're just on here, I encourage you to make sure that you're getting on my radar. And if you're trying to set up yourself for an assistant manager opportunity, really stepping up for the March Madness is going to be an important part of that. We're looking to do 20 to 30 assistant manager and assistant manager intern promotions in March. And this week, as a lot of you all know, there's going to be a whole round of full-time head assistant manager selections that will be happening in most of our district and even some of our branch offices for the summer of 2021. So if you're looking to make a statement, know that CPO talks. If you're not at Dirty 30, that's really the first step into getting into TLA and to opening up future opportunities for yourself. And we had a great assistant manager opportunity meeting a couple weeks ago, or last week, last Thursday. And if you didn't make it to that one, we're gonna have another assistant manager opportunity. Or if you're a BM or DM on the call that has an AM candidate that didn't make it to that last one, the next one on the calendar is going to be Tuesday, the 23rd from 6 to 7 p.m. So a couple of weeks from now, we'll have one more assistant manager and assistant manager intern opportunity call. But in the meantime, it's all about building momentum. And again, it doesn't matter what your role is right now this summer, branches and districts, you guys know this is momentum time. This is execution time. This is where you get your ducks in a row in order to be able to execute. And if you're looking to earn a spot, it's all about building momentum from now until the March Madness push. This push, I think some of you guys are starting to hear how much I'm stretching this push, but there's a real big opportunity for us as the division to set the tone, to set the culture, to create the environment that we want our reps and our teams to be coming off of as we go into the summer. Brian Holman just finished wrapping up our talk, and one of the big things that he was speaking about is like, how do we bring the summer forward? This past year, we had a lot of really strong results as a company in April, but a lot of that was kind of like luck, to be honest. A lot of that was kind of the fact that the economy shut down. There was a lockdown everywhere. No one could find jobs. We were the only show in town, created a massive surge in results for a lot of organizations in April and May. That's not just going to happen magically this summer. We have to bring the summer forward. We have to go all out with our SMRA hiring in March and April. We have to actually have push momentum and positive sales results. Are we starting from scratch in square one in April and we're starting from the ground up, building from nothing? Or are we coming off of a hot, fiery culture and momentum that is created through our March Madness push? And I can tell you guys that's exactly what we're going to do, and that's exactly what we're going to create. But it's going to start with leaders in this team actually stepping up and creating the momentum and creating the culture. And if you're looking to earn a spot, this is really your time and opportunity to do so. If you're looking to increase your withholdings in your startup situation, this is your time and opportunity to do so before we get into the heat of the summertime too. So some quick calendar reminders here for you guys. And then speaking of culture, we're going to dive in and talk a little bit about one of my favorite books, How to Win the Locker Room First, and really about building culture in our division and on your teams this upcoming summer. And again, I can't think of a more important book, whether you're going to run your own organization this summer, or if you're playing a pivotal key role as an assistant manager in the division. You are the culture builders in this organization. So I'm excited to talk to you all a little bit more about that. And as you all know, official assistant manager acceptances are happening this week. So I have been having a round of interviews with assistant managers. I just had one with Alyssa Andreas and Jada O'Neill yesterday in the pilot, and we'll be doing a couple more of those here throughout the week. And if you're on the Sarasota or Tampa teams, you should have already had, if you're looking to scout out or sit down for lead assistant manager roles, you should be having a conversation with your district manager here in the next week. And then any accepted managers will be invited to our Tuesday conference call training series that will start next Tuesday, 5 to 6 p.m. Each and every single week. So a couple quick what's important now in assignment reminders. And again, as always, or as of recently, Anyone that is an NLG, I will be having you guys submit your notes over to Ida Las Cuevas at the end of this call. So let's just make sure we're really being 100% engaged and getting the most out of the call here for today. Just as a friendly reminder, if you're just in general TLA and not running an office next summer, the only other thing that you need to be aware of is Module 5 of Money Honey, which is taxes and wrap up, which is, by the way, coming up for a lot of you all. So I think this would be an important module for you to pay attention to, especially if you were working with us last year, is to make sure that your taxes are buttoned up before you go into this new year. So tax season is coming up soon. That happens in March. So again, I would highly recommend, not recommend, that's the assignment to get done before February 13th, our next management prep. And then of course, you in the locker room first, which we will do some debrief here in just a second. And for NLG, that is, you should be at chapter 3, about halfway done with the book by February 13th, management prep. So there's still a week and a half out from that. But if you haven't started, it's time to start making some moves here. Other assignments, just a friendly reminder for our Monday call. And I want to make sure you guys that you have these down because there will not be an NLG call next Monday. Okay, so a lot of you all know the Puerto Rico trip, which has now been moved to Miami Beach, is going to be taking place. So I will be at the regional event on Monday. So I will not be able to host an NLG call. And we have Saturday TLA prep. So I don't think it's quite necessary for us to have another Monday call since we'll be covering a lot on that Saturday prep. But I do think it's important for you all to make sure that you're still chucking away at some of these assignments here, which is just these 3 things is really what you need to focus on. Number 1, school dates. Again, this is something that you cannot wait till Saturday and Sunday to do. It's due Monday morning by 9 a.m. So really Sunday night is when it's due, by the way. And you will have to call some of your schools. So if you wait till after Friday at 5 o'clock to start working on this, you're not going to be able to complete the assignment. And then we're going to be having a conversation that I don't really want to have with you. So let's make sure that we're all on point and getting this done and turned in on time. Second thing is some social media jumpstart moves. Felipe will be posting updated results of where everyone's at as of this Friday. And I want to see that we're making some moves and jumping the mark here. Absolutely no excuses for anyone in NLG to be under 500 next Saturday. You know, a lot of you all just were given these these branch manager opportunities and district manager territories for the summertime. You know, make sure that you're showing that you deserve this opportunity and that we're not wasting a territory on somebody that's not willing to put in the work. Follow through with what's expected. And again, this is not for us. This is not for me. This is for you and your success of your organization this upcoming summertime. And then the last thing is not all of you really have to do much with this, but make some startup and money moves. And that can be, by the way, in the form of sponsorships, you know, asking mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, like, hey, sponsor me for the summertime. You know, how much money can you get together to support yourself for this upcoming summer? And then also making moves with actually increasing your income through selling over the next couple of weeks. Some of you all, this would just be a nice little addition to what you already have. Some of you all, you've got a territory and spot, but you're not going to be able to execute on that if you don't have haven't made some money moves between now and March. So there's definitely some opportunities for us to get this done and make sure that you're making that a focus if that's an area of opportunity for you right now. And I think you know who you are. Everyone should have created their Instagram office profiles and have set that up. The content drive, I will be able to send that out tomorrow. So if you haven't posted up photos yet, you'll be able to post those. And we will be doing just a kind of a quick benchmark check of where everyone's at with their personal social media and their office Instagram at this upcoming Saturday's TLA prep. So again, I'll go ahead and send these into the group chat here, just so you have them. And again, there will be no NLG call on Monday, so make sure that you have that. Use that extra time in the schedule as an extra hour, you know, for social media work, since you guys already have it in your actual schedules. And again, I want to give you reminders just of what's going to create a epic year and epic performance this upcoming year. So, you know, as we're kicking things off, 2 things. Again, I'll just reiterate these, and I'm probably going to keep this in the slides the whole entire spring. But, you know, asking yourself, hey, am I coming to every call? Am I coming to every meeting with truly a beginner mindset? You know, someone that is always seeking to improve and always seeking what is the next level of opportunity. The true sign of a master is that they never see themselves as the master. right? And they're always open to the next levels of opportunity and growth for them, and we just came from a DVM meeting. I'm not going to tell you guys anything that, we don't share ourselves personally. The Eastern region, has dominated. We're the ones that have increased the most. We were already the top performers in Vector East beforehand. And the Vector East DVM region or DVM team is one of the strongest DVM teams in the company. I would also argue that in this meeting, we were some of the most engaged, actively asking questions, note-taking, while other people were speaking. Because, our mindset is that, hey, we might be the top performers now, but there's always an area of other opportunity. There's a quote from James Kerr. A lot of you guys know we read the Legacy book, which I don't have it here with me, but we talked about the All Blacks and the highest. There we go. Jessica's got it right there. And one of the things that he talks about in the book, he says, whenever you're on top of your game, or said, when you're the person that's on top of the game, change your game. When you're at the top, it's time to change your game. And so it's really looking at, hey, when you're at the top, when you're the best performer, when you're the best, when you're number one, be looking at what are other people doing that I'm not doing that could elevate my game to a new level. If you're number one right now and there's other people that are doing things that you're not, that could improve your game, imagine what could happen if you actually implemented those, right? And vice versa. If you're not number one, if you're not the top performer, then I think we all know why it's actually important to come. And again, I think results speak for themselves. If the worst thing is when people have this mindset and it's very clear that they're not the top performers. It's very clear that they haven't had a lot of success in that role and they still show up. Anyone ever coached a rep like that? That's like, they think they know everything and they haven't even sold like $2,000 worth of cacao. And it makes it like, hey, do you want help or do you not want help? Because you're the one that's not really making money, so do you want some support or do you want to just act like you already know everything? Last few things is making sure you're staying connected to your vision as we go into the next year. Truly thinking about, I think for our assistants, our branches, our districts on the call, what is the year that I want to experience and create from? Not leading from fear, right? Focusing on what you want, not leading from the place of, hey, what am I worried about? What if I work hard next summer and I don't have success? What if I, try to sell and do a bunch of appointments for March Madness and I don't sell a lot? What if I fail as a branch manager? All those things are, and maybe there's some of them are real valid concerns, but I'll tell you what, you're going to get a lot further when you're actually focusing on what you want. You're going to get a lot further when you're staying connected to your vision of not, hey, what do I want to not happen? But more so, hey, what do I want to create? What do I want to happen? What is the experience that I want to have as I go into 2021? So with that said, I've got some good fishbowl scenarios and some business boot camp for us to dive in and get some training on. And I want to start off by taking, 15 minutes or so to do a little bit of debrief of you win in the locker room first. And it talks about the 7 C's to build a winning team in business, sports, and life. And each chapter is kind of associated with one of the C's of the book. And the first chapter is really talking about culture. And that is why we chose this book. That's why we're reading it right now. And if you're just hopping on here, if you're not, going to be a manager candidate right now, that's fine. And this is not an assignment for you, but you're totally more than welcome to read it. And I would highly recommend doing just that. I think it's a really, again, I talk about this a lot and you guys have heard this, but culture eats, strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm a strong believer in that. The best teams, the best performing teams that I have had haven't always been the best assistants. It hasn't always been because I had the best, structures or because I was working the hardest that summer. I've had some summers where I worked a lot harder than others and sold a whole lot less. I've had some summers that were, a lot more fun than others. And a lot of it always comes back to the culture of the actual team. The culture is what creates the standards. The culture is what creates the results. The culture is what creates recruiting. Do you have, like, if you want to get really, really have a massive recruiting team, you better have a culture of massive recruiting in your office. It always starts with a culture. So I want to open things up, take a quick second to get out your notes. And again, whether you listen to audiobooks, whether you listen to actually read the books yourselves, all of that's great. But I would also look to see, maybe someone else and make sure you have a running spot to take notes on in this book. And maybe somebody else has something that maybe you missed in your note taking that could provide you with some value. And I realize, again, it's not due yet. So there might be a couple of you all that have not quite started this book. Make sure that's not the case coming into next Saturday's management prep, and that you're at least halfway through, because we'll be doing some debrief of it in that meeting here as well. And I'll be giving probably a message on creating culture specifically on this stuff. So get your notes, and we'll go around the horn. And I'd like to get some just some light bulbs, takeaways, or nuggets, or anything that like kind of spoke to you that you wrote down or came out in the first couple chapters here as we get started. Yeah, we'll start off with and just if you've already read it further ahead, just only focus on chapters 1 through 3. Specifically, I'm talking about chapters 1 and 2 for today. So yeah, let's go to Anthony first, and then we can go to Audrey.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I've only read chapter 1, but I've got over a page of notes on it. I won't go through everything because that would just take way too long. But the first thing that stood out to me was, culture comes from the top down, but the life of culture comes from the bottom up. And the fact that, a leader's word equals, your team's action. It has to equal your leader's actions. And it just reminded me of my first summer in 2019 with Mason when I think it was like SC2. We were like, our culture was so good that when SC2 was happening, we got put in a group chat with, I think, Milo's branch. And, without Mason even needing to be like, yo, guys, let's talk some shit, let's do some good stuff. Like, he didn't have to do that. We were all already on our grind. We wanted to win. We just had that really good culture in the office, and like Mason did so well early on in the summer that he didn't even need to like really keep it going. We already grew into that. And then on page 12, the 7 responsibilities, that's definitely something that I want to implement in my office this summer. And then the last thing would be, success can be your worst enemy, focusing on the root, not the fruit, making sure even when you succeed, you don't change, how you're doing it in your office. You don't change the culture. You just keep grinding and doing your thing.
Yep. I love that. A couple of things I want to echo that Anthony said. One of the first things he said was the first thing that was in my notes from when I read the book last year, which is, culture is built from the top down, but it's created from the bottom up. So the culture is built from the top down, but it's created from the bottom up. Kind of like Anthony said, it's the root, not the fruit. And it's really like, it's where's it being grown from? That mentality of how culture is actually existing in your organization. And I think again too, like culture is what breeds everything else. Going back to what Anthony said too, it's like when you have a team culture, like culture fixes a lot of the problems that you have, right? Like literally having a great phone jam culture, a great culture in your office, like all of a sudden a lot of these management problems that you have of, oh, my reps won't make enough calls, or, everyone never has any numbers, or no one calls into the office, or no one's selling, or I have all these fake demos, blah, blah. Like, those are things that you can manage your way through. But if there's a culture that creates a different environment, a lot of those problems never even exist in the first place. And the culture is the center place that everything else breeds off of, so I think it's just starting with that, starting it with it, not as a, hey, I have my organization, then we also have culture. It's no, I have the culture of the team. And then we have all these systems and programs that are built around that culture. Love that, Anthony. Thanks for sharing. All right, let's go to, let me get somebody else. Let me get Audrey, and then we'll hop over to Tyler.
Cool. So my takeaway, I think it's a mix of culture and being contagious, but just being aware of the way you're showing up for your people, or even the people you work with. Are you showing up and complaining? That's been a trend I've been doing this past week. Cassidy can attest, and it's very toxic. I'm aware of it, and it's helping and serving no one. So being aware of the way you're showing up, but also, are you showing up eager to learn in that beginner mindset? There was the example of one of like the quarterbacks who was eager to grow, showing up several weeks before the season started to like begin training. And eventually the rest of the team joined him, and that just helped prepare for the season. So it's very relevant. in my life, specifically with like working out, first I saw like Jess and Alexis on their little fairy trend thing. And then Cassidy hopped on board and now I'm on board. So just being aware of your mindset, what you're doing, your actions around your people, and how that trend can correlate. That was my takeaway.
Awesome, Audrey. Thanks for sharing. I have some thoughts, but I also don't want to go too into it. A couple other people to share for a couple of thoughts. I think Tyler was next, and then we'll call on whoever else is ready.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Up a little bit. Can you guys hear me?
All right.
Go ahead, Tyler. I don't know. I'm frozen. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, this book actually, so I've read the first 2 chapters. It's really easy to understand. So I really appreciate that. Like some books that are like this are a little bit hard to understand, but it's really connected. I also like connected it with another book I'm reading right now at the same time, which is The Power of Now. And like that, I guess that was probably the biggest thing so far from the book was just like, he went over like focusing less on the goals and focusing more on the process of, you know, achieving like benchmarks and things like that. So like smaller goals and then going towards the vision, which is the taller, like the bigger goal. So like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I focus too much on the end goal that, you know, after a while, I'm like, I'm still not even there. Like, what's the point? But he really focuses on like hitting those benchmarks. You know, every game, I think he always mentions that, like just focusing on one game at a time, which I think could kind of work as well for like, you know, certain scenarios in the office too. So it's cool to kind of connect that. And then also, I guess the other big thing is just focusing on like me and like how I'm representing the culture myself, like for my office. So, you know, I can't just rely on everybody else to uphold the culture. I have to do it and then they'll follow kind of in the footsteps. And then also like one thing you mentioned that made more sense to me after reading this book was keeping your circle of like managers pretty small. So like you and 2, which also was kind of like what he said, which was finding the right people to fit the culture and stick to that culture and like the standards. And if you wear yourself too thin, I feel like that can probably be a little bit tough to uphold. So yeah.
Yeah, and culture always starts with you, right? As the leader, and this is why, again, this is the same thing I said to kick off our call, that your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something that you attract by the person that you become, right? And what that means is really that like you can't create a culture of energy if you always show up with low energy. You can't create a culture of high standards and finishing the job strong and finishing what you started when you're the person, a manager that gives up on your team goal the last week of the push and you've already given up on them first. You can't expect your people to believe in themselves and believe in the organization more than you do as a leader, you know? So I think part of it is just like, hey, knowing that it comes from that place. Cool. Let me get 1 or 2 more other shares and then we'll wrap up. Who else has started as a takeaway too? Yeah, Rochelle. And then Taylor, were you raising your hand?
So one of my biggest ones has been just I've always been trying to like wrap my mind around like when you're hiring somebody, like how do you know that they're like a good fit? And something that I've been learning is just like having good characteristics. Like who is somebody that is gonna like keep going when it gets hard, and like how do they face the challenges? So that's something that really stuck out to me when he asked like a couple different questions, like how are you reacting to the failure, and what is driving you with the resilience to keep on going even when things get hard. So I think that like especially connecting to like future vision and like getting into more coaching with the reps, I found that to be really valuable, and like really focusing not on the outcomes, not on the actions, or well, more so on the actions, but just having like overall what he said was a winning culture. So like what are all the tiny things that you're winning in every single day that's building that character? So that was like one of my bigger ones.
Yeah. One last one that I'll share before we get into our role play here. Actually, does anyone else want to chime in here before? Come on. Cool. One thing that I'll hit on, we'll probably talk about more next week, but I have here highlighted in my notes I want to share is one of the next chapters is on contagious as one of the C's, right? Contagious culture. And it talks about having contagious energy, right? Contagious energy towards your people. And this is something that you all, intuitively already know. It's what we teach you in day one of training, that what is sales? Sales is influence. Sales is the transfer of enthusiasm from one person to another. It's a transfer of enthusiasm, transfer of energy. That's what it means. That's why, by the way, some people read the same script and can't seem to sell any Cutco, because their energy is very, very low in their calls. They don't sound excited, and then there's other people that are reading the same script to the same type of people. People are getting excited and they're buying Cutco, because their energy is contagious, their energy when they come into a room. And by the way, I just want to educate you too, is your energy is always contagious. It just depends what kind of energy are you bringing, but your energy is always contagious, and he talks about how leadership is really a transfer of purpose, passion, optimism, and belief into people, that are one of the things that it references in the book that I highly recommend people go check out. This is one of those things that, I've talked about for a long time with TLA and energetic leadership, is that, people can feel your energy. And there's actually, that was something that people have long understood about human connection in life, but there's actually now science and data to actually back it up. And you can look up the Heart Math Institute, but, there's research and data out there, other people can feel the energy that radiates off your heart from up to 10 feet out of your body. By the way, guess what? Even on Zoom calls, even if they're not physically in front of you, people can also feel your energy that you show up to the call. So, you're either sharing positive energy with people or you're sharing, negative energy with people. And he also talks about, again, in the notion of culture, and I love that. I think Rochelle put it in there, or was it Juliana? I didn't see exactly who put it in there. Juliana put it in there. One of the second tenet of E, right? Energetic leadership. It's also too, I think, for branches and other people, is being aware of energy vampires. This is what we talked about last in or someone asked a good call after the NOG call yesterday, which is when you have so many reps, how do you determine who you prioritize? Well, this is one way. I literally think about who do I get energy talking to and who do I not get energy talking to? Who are the people that are energy vampires? And you all know, it's I have that call with that person and I feel more frustrated and crappier after that call is over. I hang out with that person or do a PC with that person and my day's worse, usually after I sit down and talk with them. Those people are the energy vampires. And by the way, sometimes you'll see it this is why I remember when we really wanted to start focusing on the culture, when I think this was back in 2018 and Eddie, we had people, I had a 20K rep that I kicked off my team, 1 week. And Eddie's he's the top performer. I'm I don't care. Get him out of here. We don't he's an energy vampire. He might be selling a lot. He might be adding to the sales report, but I promise you, I'd rather have, a team of badass leaders where the culture is protected than have one person that might sell a little extra Cutco each and every single week, but they're going to ruin the culture of the entire team. And the worst part is that they sell a lot. So they're going to really affect the culture because people look up to that person and they're not a good example of how we want people to be leading on our team too. So it's really protecting that energy, protecting the culture of your team and protecting the way that you show up. So I think we can kind of, we'll come back to this. I really, again, if you haven't started this yet, this is not one of those ones you want to rush through. I would just kind of take a chapter week by week. Again, we've had, by the way, I think I assigned this in December. So we've had a long time to get started on it. So if you haven't gotten started on it yet, please make sure you do so. And we'll continue on. Last few things, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit after we finish up debrief. I want to do some fishbowl scenarios here. So we're probably going to land a little bit earlier today off of TLA. But here's what we'll do some fishbowl scenarios. I think one of the biggest things is, let's just talk about this first. Okay. If you want reps to be successful on your team, what does a rep need to be successful? What are the three things they need? Adrian, what's one of them?
Names and numbers.
They need people to call. Jess, what's one of them?
They need to feel good.
They need to feel good. And Juliana, what's the last one?
You need a plan.
They need a plan. Okay, I would write that down. In order for reps to have success with the job, they need people to call. They need to feel good, and they need to have a plan. Okay. And I by the way, it really is that simple. I think a lot of times we, as managers, because we learn a lot, really overcomplicate what representatives actually need to be successful. But it's really just those three things, and specifically with the first one being they need people to call. I can't tell you how crazy it is how many times I see managers do PCs with reps where they like get them motivated and get them excited and like, all right, and then they come back next week and they're like, I don't know what happened. They didn't sell again. And it's like, yeah, because they still don't have anyone to call. You lit them on fire and then they're like, all right, I got a great plan. And then they hopped off and they went to their queue and they had 5 people to call. And then they didn't follow your plan because they didn't have anybody to call. So that can be one of the biggest things too. Just again, and I think having a very healthy awareness as managers on how many people do your people have to call. Now, before I get into like the actual fishbowl scenario, let's talk about, I want to walk you all through the process real quickly. And this is going to be a really good thing for your notes. Okay. Of how do we ensure that our people actually have people to call, right? So when does this process, like, making sure, and this is just one of the arts. Okay. It's something that's not talked about because it's not easy to track. It's not really easy to be like, all right, well, how many names and numbers does the average person on your team have? But okay, this affects everything. It affects retention. Okay. People that don't have people to call, they sell for 2 weeks and then they quit because they ran out of people to call. They're only going to come to so many team meetings to sit there for a couple hours and not have anyone to call before they're like, yeah, screw this. Okay. So they have to have people to call. Second thing is it's going to affect retention. It's going to affect your PPR. It affects fast start productivity and then how much they sell after that. A big part is SE2. I remember 1 year we were not off to a strong start. Actually, this was in 2018, our first $1 million year. And I remember talking with Eddie and sitting down and it was like the end of June and we were gearing up for SE2. And we were just talking about like, hey, we're not performing as well as we'd like to now. Well, we know we are going to kick so much ass for SE2 because all of our best people are stacked with names and numbers. We've been stressing recommendations for months and they all have a lot. And it's one thing I notice a lot of times too, is a lot of managers will push their people at SE1 and they kind of stop asking about recommendations. And then all of a sudden their people have big SE1 pushes and then can't sell after that because they ran out of people to call and stopped prioritizing recommendations halfway through their push. And they ran through all their leads without asking for more recommendations. It sounds silly, but reps do this all the time is they'll just like stop asking for recommendations because they forgot, about what originally was giving them success in the first place. And then they're like, oh yeah, I just did 20 presentations and got 10 recs. So they just kind of stopped asking. And then all of a sudden they have no number. So it also affects your SE2. Like I'm just telling you guys right now, SE2 performance, a big thing is how many names and numbers do they actually have? Your reps can want to go for 20K pushes. If they don't have 100 people to call, they're not going to sell 20 grand for SE2. They're probably not even going to sell 10 grand for SE2 if they don't have 100 people to call. I can't tell you how many people from my own SE2 alliance sat down and wanted to make goals with me of 20K, 30K, 40K, and they had 40 people on queue. It's like, that's a great desire, but it's not even possible. It is maybe sort of possible, but it's not very, very likely. So walk through super fast through this process. When's the first time that we start influencing how many names and numbers people are going to have? Yeah, Jess.
Post-interview.
Literally in the end of the interview. That's the first conversation that starts affecting the long-term success of representatives. By the way, it's not just PPR, retention, and performance. It's also recruiting. Because guess what? When there's a lot of retention on your team, when there's a lot of high PPR, when the average person on your team makes a lot more money, it helps with recruiting. People are more eager to post triple threats. People are more excited about getting their friends on the team. Good luck getting them excited to recommend their friends to the team when all of them are making no money because they don't have anyone to call. So it starts in the interview, okay? And then getting them to make sure they show up to training with how many? Names and numbers.
Minimum 20 to 30.
Yeah, 20 to 30, right? And getting your top performers to show up with 50 plus, to the actual training seminar if they're gunners. Now, this is a fine line because the number one goal is you want them to be there in training. So you don't want to push this too hard that it scares them away. And you do want them to work on this assignment. The next time that we start working on this is during what part of training on day one? Names list assignment. Okay. So it's when we do that names list brainstorm, which again, for NLG, how many names and numbers should someone have in training, by the end of that exercise? Or not numbers, just names in that exercise. How many should the average person have?
100.
100. Okay. If they're averaging less than that, because here's the thing, they're not going to get all those names and numbers, so if they only come up with 50, if they only get, 60, 70% of that, that means your average person's only coming to training tomorrow with 25 to 30 numbers. They've got to get to 100 to give them a shot at getting to like 50. They got to have at least that list, right? So it starts there. Then the next time that we really also in day one of training is when we go over the day one, what? Starts with an A. Day one. The next letter is an S. Next letter is also,
Assignments.
yes. Someone's like, no. Assignments. Okay, assignments. So the day one assignment, which is to come into day two with the names and numbers. Now, by the way, this will be easier than ever before with our Vector Impact app that we'll be using moving forward, because they can literally go to their parents' phone, have them download an app, and their parents can just recommend people directly through the app. They can separate their friends and contacts directly through it. So they'll be able to get more names and numbers from mom and dad that automatically get uploaded. They don't have to actually go through and manually upload them all. But this is a big key in making sure they leave with 10 demos and have a strong fast start. Okay, so boom, they get their names and numbers, they call them, they schedule them. When's the next time that we start talking about names and numbers after they finish training?
Advanced training.
I was gonna pop quiz some people. Who else got it though? Advanced training 1. Okay, so advanced training 1, we start talking about, the 4 years of people you can see. Okay, one thing that's going to affect their names and numbers is making sure that they're not calling recommendations, and they're just not calling recommendations yet. It's another way to kill a rep is they do 10 presentations to their friends and family. They discard that old list and they start trying to call and see recs. Easiest way to kill a rep's career usually, but making sure they're going through the 4 gears slowly, which who remembers what the 4 gears are? 4 gears of Cutco. First one is friends and family. Second one is
Acquaintances.
Third one is
Groups.
Directories.
List. Yeah, groups. The fourth one is recommendations. Okay, so making sure that they understand that, and then giving them the assignment in advanced training 1 that is followed up on Tuesday PDI. Okay, and that assignment is to show up on Wednesday with what?
At least 30 on their attack list.
30 to 50 updated on Q or now on the Vector Impact app, right? On their phoning list. They have another 30 so they have names and numbers to come to that first Wednesday phone jam. And again, I think there's other parts that affect this culture. That's the first couple of days. But those programs set up the rest of a rep's career, how that is executed. The other thing is, which by the way, you can now check on the Vector Impact app, we'll be able to see how many recommendations a representative gets from every single appointment that they go on. So there'll be no more guessing, as a manager, when you're like, oh, they got 10, and then they come on Monday and they don't actually have 10. They just were told that they would get 10 later, and we all know how that goes. So making sure that they actually get, you can see how many recommendations, so you can start to address the problem earlier if you notice that they're not getting recommendations. But I think part of this is playing the long-term game, right? Rep managers that are too focused on the current and the now and the sales oftentimes end up hurting in the back half of the summer because they were really focused on sales in the moment and forgot that the reps weren't getting recommendations. And again, it's your job and your duty to look out for the long-term success of your people. They're not going to be thinking, oh, wow. They're not thinking like you of this is so important. If I don't do this, it's going to mess up my long-term opportunity here. They're just saying, I just want to sell some Cutco this week and make some money. They're not thinking about recommendations as that valuable, but we know it's the bread and butter of our business. So, the next things would just be doing quality checks, having conversations when people have low names and numbers. And something you got to be good at as a manager is being able to have a conversation with someone that doesn't have people to call and making sure that they come out of that call with people to call and a game plan. So that's what we're going to spend a little bit of time role playing and debriefing here today is it's a Wednesday team meeting. Okay. There's a new rep. You can just call it a new rep because sometimes it's a little bit different than older rep. Someone hops on, they have no one else to call. Okay. Now this is not like this is like a fishbowl scenario. Okay. Meaning there's some things where it's like a Tuesday PDI call. There's a way to do the Tuesday PDI call. We have an outline for it. There's things you want to hit on. You got to cover it. This can go in different directions. Okay, in fact, there's a couple of different things that you can do to help a representative get more names and numbers, depending on where they're at in their career and what they've done so far in the past. So there's not a perfectly right answer to this, or it's not like a right or wrong, but I want you to be thinking about what would that conversation look like when you see, basically imagine this, you're in the phone jam, representative's not making any calls, while the reps are phone jamming, you're phone jamming. So you call them real quickly and, hey, so-and-so, hey, I noticed you haven't made a call in 30 minutes. What's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry. I ran out of people to call. I don't have anyone else I can see. Cool. What's the first couple questions you ask? And where does that conversation go from there? So I'm going to go ahead and put y'all into some breakout rooms. And
Wait.
Yeah.
Before you do, is this like their first phone jam?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say it's a newer rep. So it's a first phone jam, or maybe their second phone jam. Yeah. Just as a situation, do they have numbers in queue or on brainstorm list, or no? What do you mean?
Like on queue, you can see like how many people they inputted and how many they brainstormed like in training. So like, I just want to know like the information before like I call them. So like, do they have none in there, or like, do they have people in there? It would like divert my conversation.
Right. And that's a good point. So try to think about what would you do in both scenarios?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So just play around again. I know there's a lot of different nuances here of where the scenarios could go. So I'll let you guys take the direction with it as you see fit. All right, I'm gonna put you all into little breakout rooms, and we'll get started in a little bit. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to work on this, then we'll come back. All right, talk to you in a second. All right. Anthony, go ahead. Marino, go ahead. I'm gonna be a rep. Call me, and
oh no. Okay.
You can ask why I don't have any, why I haven't made a phone call in 30 minutes.
Okay, cool. All right. Ring.
Hello.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing? It's Anthony Marino. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you, Anthony?
Good. Hey, I noticed that you have not made a call in the last 29 minutes. Everything okay?
Yeah, no, I ran out of people to call, so I just stopped making calls.
All good, man. Hey, how many people did you call though?
Like a lot.
All right, and then how I those a lot of people, I guess you can say. How many answered?
I don't know. Not many people were answering my calls.
All right. Did you double tap?
Yeah, I was double tapping.
All right, good. All right, man. First off, another question I wanted to ask you real quick. Did you send the heads up text ahead of time before the phone jam?
Heads up text? No, what is that?
When you send it to your customer after about an hour before the phone jam, so they know that your call's coming in?
Oh no, I didn't do that either.
All right, man. All right. So this is what I would do, man. I would go back into your brainstorm list and start messaging your friends, get your parents' numbers, but also have your callback set up, right? Let's see here. I'm drawing a blank.
Well, yeah, so I don't have anyone to call.
Okay. Let me see here.
You got it, Anthony. I don't have anyone to call. What should I do?
Keep double tapping, right?
I don't have anyone to call. I need help getting more numbers.
Reaching out to your parents? That's what we're talking about in the group chat or in our.
Is that what I should do? Should I reach out to my parents?
The goal is to get more numbers. So I would reach out to your parents. That's what I did. And I
All right. Well, hold on. So you're coaching me, okay?
I know.
So I'm the rep. You're coaching me. So here, Anthony. Well, if let me just ask you. All right, I if I don't have any phone numbers, what would be the advice that you'd give to me? I have no one to. I feel like I have nobody to call. Where should I start? You know this.
Why am I drawing a blank?
Somebody help him out.
Cassie, I already said that, though.
Gabriel. Let me. You come in. I got no one to call. What should I do?
Well, first thing I would do, like as me calling you, I would ask you how many contacts your mom gave you, and then maybe try to reach out to her, see if she can give you any more, or reach out to your family, see if they can help you with some contacts, or if anybody in your family you haven't done a demo with.
Cool. All right. So that would probably be the first place to start, is reaching out, like going back to like friends and family and just seeing if I can get some more names and numbers. Cool. If I feel like I've already, I feel like I've already done that before. Then what would and this can be Gabriel, Anthony, or someone else can chime in. I feel like, hey, so and so I've already like reached out to a bunch of my friends and family. I like already texted them all. Justice.
One thing Audrey mentioned was like social media. So not with random people, but like people that you don't necessarily have their numbers on, but you are really close to them on social media. So some friends, and you text them like to get their parents' numbers as well too.
Okay. Lindsay.
Okay, guys. So this is like a brand new rep, like immediately during a phone jam, we want them to send them into immediate action. We don't want them to twiddle their thumbs, sending messages. Have we taught them how to send messages? Do we even have the template to send to those messages while we're running the phone jam? One of my biggest things is like, especially if it's a new rep, like, hey, Johnny rep, awesome. How many demos did you do this past weekend? Oh, you did 12? Okay, awesome. Who are your favorite customers? Like, which ones were your favorite? Oh, like your grandma, your best friend's mom. Yeah, how'd those go? Okay, awesome. How many recs did you get on those appointments? Okay, like 10, 12 each. That's awesome, Johnny rep. Well, how many people do you think your best friend's moms know? Like, how many people do you think she has on Facebook? Like 100, like 300? How many people do you think she has in her contacts? Probably a lot more than 12, right? Yeah, so since it went so well and you both had so much fun, do you think you'd give them a call back real quick and see if they could shoot you a couple more, just share your goals a little bit, tell them how important it was and how amazing the demo was. Just ask them for a couple more so you can go right into immediate action this evening. Does that sound cool? Yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Johnny Rep. You got this. Let me know if you need anything. Bye.
Cool. Thank you, Lindsay, for chiming in here. Jess, I see you eagerly raising your hand. I'm sure you have some good thoughts here too. I'm going to take over a little bit just because we're time-wise here. So this is a drop-down process, right? I think the first thing you have to do is ask questions as to where the reps actually, you have to get a sense of where they are at. Because maybe they are a little bit further along. Like, again, how many, the first thing I would be looking at is that Q or vector impact and seeing, how many people do they have on their brainstorm list and how many numbers do they actually have? So for you, Anthony, it's like, don't ask the rep, how many calls did you make? How many names and numbers do you have? Like, just say, hey, yeah, well, I'm looking at your queue right now and you've got 20 names and numbers. Did you already call through all those 20 people? Start off too. Because by the way, one thing you'll hear is like, I don't have anyone to call is also another way of saying, I don't want to call the people that I do have to call, so it might be that, number one. But then the next thing is like, if they don't actually have anyone to call, you want to do an audit of like, hey, when you were in training last week, Joey, when you did that brainstorm list, like how many people did you come up with on your brainstorm list of like all the people you could possibly show Cutco to? Yeah, like 100. Okay, cool. How many appointments have you done now since you started the job? Like about 12. Okay, great. So out of those other 88 people that you wrote down on your list, how many of those do you have the phone numbers for currently? Like 10 of them. Cool, great. So from the other 78 people that you wrote down, if you spent some time, and I can go ahead and copy and paste a text that you can send out to them to get like numbers from friends and parents, or you could reach out to mom and dad for some of those. If you spent like 20 minutes right now working on that, like how many out of those 78 people, how many do you feel like you could confidently get some phone numbers from? Cool, like 20. All right, let's just see if we can get 10. real quickly, just so we can have something productive to do in the phone jam. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste you this text. Why don't you reach out? And I know you think you can confidently get 20. Let's just see if we can get 10 phone numbers right now so we can make some moves from this phone jam. And let's also set up a PC for tomorrow, like a one-on-one. That way we can spend a little bit more time making sure that you're working on your names and numbers, because we want to set you up for some long-term success. So, a short-term solution for the current phone jam, but a long-term solution is they're going to need more names and numbers, and they're going to be in the same spot the following week. Right. A couple other things just real quickly that I would do is, but I would always ask those questions. The other things that you can do is I'm going to send this document into them, but the getting more appointments document, that should just be something you have on file, ready to forward out to like literally any rep that ever goes, I don't have numbers. Cool. I'm busy in a phone jam. I just sent you a document. Go through that document and see if you can come up with some more numbers, and actually do that. There's Facebook, there's social media. There's a lot of different sources that they can use. The last few things I would just add is, let's say a rep has been around on the team for a long time and they still don't feel like they have any, or they ran out of names and numbers to call, I would have them actually go, hey, go ahead and open up your phone, Joey. Scroll down to the bottom, open up your contacts, scroll all the way to the bottom. What does that number say at the very bottom? 340 contacts. Cool. How many appointments have you done so far? 10. Okay, great. Or 20. Out of those 340 people on your phone, like how many of those are like adults? 20. So all the other ones are like your friends and stuff like that too. Cool. So are those 200 friends, how many of those have you reached out to yet? And asking questions like this, you're actually giving them like direction of who they should be actually targeting. Another thing that I'll do is like, if a rep's like, I've already reached out to everybody that I know, I'm like, I'll do one of these exercises. Cool. Hey, Jessica, let's just do a quick brainstorm list. You got a paper real quickly on you? All right, great. You graduated from Riverview High School, right? Great. How many people were in your freshman college now, right? So how many people were in your graduating class approximately? Like 500? Great. Yeah. Out of those 500 people, how many of those parents have you seen so far? 3. All right, cool. So out of the other 497 people in your graduating class, how many of those, if you reached out to a bunch of those and like reached out to them, seeing a parent's number, how many phone numbers do you feel like you confidently get? Maybe like 10. All right, great. Go ahead and put 10 down from Riverview senior class. Cool. Did you know anyone that was in grades below you? All right, great. How many people in the grades below you? 1,500? All right, out of those, how many do you feel like you could confidently get? Yeah, you played soccer in high school, right? How many people were on your soccer team? 30? Cool. How many out of those 30 people, how many of those have you seen their parents so far? None? All right, great. Out of those 30 people on your soccer team, if you reached out to them, how many people do you feel like confidently you could get the phone numbers for? Like 5? Okay, great. Go ahead and put down 5 from soccer team. Do you go to church? Oh, you do go to church. Nice. How many people are in your congregation? How many people go to church with you? A couple hundred? How many people have you seen from church so far? 0? All right, great. Out of the 300 people in church, how many, if you reach out to some of those people in church, how do you feel you can confidently get? All right, another 5. Go ahead and put that down. Nice. Yeah, you just started freshman in college. How many college professors do you have? 5? Great. Out of your 5 college, and then you had 5 last semester too, right? Out of those 10 professors, how many have you seen so far? And by the way, I would just do this for like literally every category. Oh, you're in this club and organization. Oh, you did this in high school. Oh, you did this club. Out of those people, how many have you seen their parents so far? Or how many have you reached out to? How many do you feel you confidently see? And I just get this list where they're like, cool, 5 from this organization, 10 from this organization, 3 from here. So that list is like 80. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we now have, Joey, there's 80 people on this list that you feel like you could confidently get phone numbers for. I don't even need you to get 80. Okay. I need you to get 30 out of the 80 you said you were confident about. Okay. So I'm going to check in with you on this date next Sunday. And I need you, here's the text message you're going to send. I need you to make some moves and get in towards this. If you get to 80, awesome. But we need to be at least 30, by this upcoming Sunday. So can I count on you to follow through with that and check it on that and make sure you're going to show up the next Sunday phone jam prepared with names and numbers to call. So we're not in this situation again. Cool. And there's a getting more appointments document. And then there's also Q and the actual brainstorm. There's multiple resources, but you have to give them some direction. And a lot of times it's making them realize they know a lot more people than they actually think. And they're just thinking very, very small-minded about it. So I went way over time, but I thought it'd be good to actually get this out. So hasta luego. Talk to y'all soon. Post light bulbs and takeaways into TLA chat, please. Send your notes to Ida Escuevas. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great team meeting. Bye.